Would you guys be excited about Grand Theft Auto IV Remastered? What about Red Dead Redemption Remastered? Well, we got some details on that from an official source inside Rockstar Games. We'll be diving into all of that in this video today and a whole lot more. So this all began when Rockstar Games insider THEFT put this out on social media the other day. As per a reliable source with clear accuracy on Rockstar's plans, remasters of Grand Theft Auto IV and Red Dead Redemption were on the table a few years ago, but Rockstar chose not to proceed with the projects in mind. The poor reception of the Trilogy Definitive Edition might be a reason behind that decision. So, oh no, unfortunately, due to the Trilogy Definitive Edition of Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas not being all that great, you guys know that series of games and remakes had lots of bugs and issues, glitches, and there were just things that players did not enjoy with the way Rockstar and Grove Street Games went about remaking them, how they looked, or how the changes they made were so different from the originals. So there was obviously not a lot of great positivity behind those, and I still think to this day they're still not going over all that great. But it looks like we were going to get a remaster of my personal favorite Grand Theft Auto game, GTA 4, which probably would have included a remaster of the DLCs to The Ballad of Gay Tony and The Lost and the Damned. And you've got Red Dead Redemption, which probably would have also included a remaster of Undead Nightmare, which those 3 DLCs right there are probably the best story expansions of all time. I'm not just talking about Rockstar there, I'm talking about of any gaming franchise. So that is extremely unfortunate to see something like that come and go. And I hope that sometime in the future, Rockstar possibly reconsiders this, because man, I would love to dive back into a remastered version of Grand Theft Auto 4, exploring the story again of Nico Bellic, Johnny Klebitz, and Luis Lopez, and going back and exploring the story of John Marston and Jack Marston, especially after getting the sort of the backstory with Red Dead Redemption 2. Man, that would have just been awesome. Now, there was more follow-up for that, as insider TezFunds2 said this: remasters of GTA 4 and Red Dead Redemption 1 weren't in production, simply in the ideas phase, and remained there for years. Rockstar's plan was to start with the trilogy and follow up with GTA 4 and Red Dead Redemption 1. The decision to greenlight more depended on the initial reception of the trilogy, and then he ended up linking to the Kotaku article that was written last year, where they actually referenced that exact same plan happening. In case you guys don't remember, it said this: for fans who are more interested in other classic Rockstar games getting remastered and re-released, sources tell me that Rockstar has plans to develop new ports of games like Red Dead Redemption. But the future of these remastered games depends on how well these initial re-releases sell. So clearly the re-releases of the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy, the Definitive Edition, did not sell well enough, or did not perform well enough, or have a good enough public response for Rockstar to continue and do stuff for Grand Theft Auto 4 and for Red Dead Redemption. Now, with big and disappointing news like this, there was obviously a lot of questions that came from it. Players wanted some answers, and so TezFunds2 kind of responded to a couple of people that said, if it was on the table a few years ago, how is it something which came out last fall affected the decision? And he said because it still remained on the table, and Rockstar was looking at the trilogy to greenlight full production for GTA 4 and Red Dead Redemption remasters. So they brought it up a couple of years ago, and that idea was still on the table, but they wanted to see how the Definitive Edition went. Now, maybe if Rockstar had started with GTA 4 or Red Dead Redemption, it would have gone over a lot better. Maybe it was just the way that Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas were ultimately put out. Now, some more follow-up with another user saying that last bit puzzles me. With the trilogy remaster happening 2021 and meeting poor reception, the execution, not the idea, if that was the major reason to scrap GTA 4, Red Dead Redemption 1, does that mean they've been working on those titles until 2021 at least? Any salvageable leftovers then? And he says remasters of GTA 4 and Red Dead Redemption 1 weren't in full production, just ideas and plans, and remained as such even when the trilogy launched. Rockstar was looking at the trilogy to greenlight more remasters. And again, more follow-up there that Rockstar was waiting to see how the Trilogy Definitive Edition was going to do before they ended up jumping into anything else. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's gone all that well. More follow-up. Someone saying, how does the Trilogy Definitive Edition being poorly received when it's released just last year affect the plans of Red Dead Redemption 1 and GTA 4 when those talks were years ago? You said the decision was made way before the trilogy even came out. You don't make sense. And he said the talks didn't cease years ago. Remasters of 4 and Red Dead Redemption 1 remained on the table even when the trilogy launched. Decision to green light full production wasn't given just yet. Trilogy wasn't doing well, not just sales, but fan reception as well. So it did not sell well, and fans were overall just not all that thrilled with the titles altogether. Unfortunately, I think GTA 4 would go over a lot better. And the follow-up continues with more questions being asked. Man, I just don't know how they were on the table for a few years, but were reconsidered based on the negative reception to the trilogy, which released over half a year ago. Not doubting you or your info, just another head-scratcher from Rockstar, with him again saying they weren't in full production and the talks didn't cease years ago. They remained as ideas/plans on the table even when the trilogy launched. Rockstar was looking at the trilogy to green light production. So again, it's kind of all the trilogy's fault is basically what we're getting at right here. That's really going to bum me out if what Grove Street Games put out for Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas prevents us from re-getting Grand Theft Auto 4 and Red Dead Redemption, but that's just my opinion. Again, more follow-up to all this with someone saying, that makes no sense. I mean, the poor reception is now, but do they canceled it a few years ago so they saw the future? Moreover, Rockstar said that they obtained many benefits with the Trilogy Definitive Edition. He said, no, the ideas were on the table and could sit there for years until the decision comes from Rockstar to kick the project into full production. Grand Theft Auto 4 and Red Dead Redemption 1 remasters weren't in full production, simply plans or ideas. Rockstar's plans of remastering older titles started with the trilogy based on the release order, and they were planning to do the same with successive titles, but the decision to greenlight depends on the initial reception of the remasters. So essentially, long story short here, we were going to get a remastered version of Grand Theft Auto 4 and Red Dead Redemption 1, but due to the lack of success of the trilogy, not only in terms of sales, but also in fan response, it looks like those ideas have been scrapped altogether. And again, to me, this is just really unfortunate because Grand Theft Auto 4, one of the best games of all time, in my opinion, the best Grand Theft Auto game of all time, and Red Dead Redemption is an absolute masterpiece. So the fact that we're not going to be able to experience these on the modern consoles is a little bit disappointing, and they might have come with, various improvements and changes that would have made the games even better than their original. But I would love to hear from you guys in those comments down below. What do you think of this news that Grand Theft Auto 4 and Red Dead Redemption, we're going to be getting a 2022 or whenever it's going to come out remaster? Man, this is just disappointing, but let me know what you think in those comments down below. I'd love to hear from you guys down there. If you guys did go on to enjoy this video, though, a like rating would, of course, be awesome. And be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new. You want to stay up to date on all latest GTA and all the Rockstar Games videos that I'll be doing here on my channel. And be sure to ring that notification bell as well. Sometimes YouTube just doesn't work, and if you ring that bell, you'll always be guaranteed to be notified when new videos arrive. But of course, as always, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.